Welcome to the Growthwell Podcast, where we explore the art of balancing business growth with personal well-being. I'm your host, Josh Byrd, and I've spent the last 15 years of my career working with entrepreneurs, investors, and creatives, and I've experienced firsthand the dangers of ignoring your personal well-being in pursuit of business success. I started this podcast, honestly, just to learn from others how they keep everything in balance and come back to center when things inevitably get crazy. Special thanks, as always, to my friends at MarketScale for making this podcast happen. Today, we have an awesome guest for you, Arun Mohan, MD, MBA. He's a seasoned healthcare entrepreneur and investor. He was the co-founder and CEO of Radix Health, which had an awesome exit here in the Atlanta area. He's an active angel investor in early stage healthcare startups, and he's a physician. I used to see him coming into the office in his gym clothes, either in the morning or at lunchtime. He would squeeze it in. And I knew that he was practicing the art and balance of business growth with personal well-being. And so I'm really excited for us to talk to him today and understand the method to his success. Let's get into it. Arun, thanks for coming today. I love working with you in the past. I'm excited to have you on. Thanks for coming, man.
Same. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So, as we were talking a little before the show, I really want this podcast to be about looking at the bigger picture of the entrepreneurial lifestyle and what that means to you as a person. I think that's really an interesting thing. And, so many entrepreneurs have seen the Simon Sinek video, Start With Why. And so, what's your why? Why did you decide, because you didn't start out as an entrepreneur, but somewhere along the way you decided to be an entrepreneur. So why did you choose the entrepreneurial lifestyle?
Yeah, two things. One, mission, and two, team. So for me, it's really important to have a mission that you care about. So something big, something meaningful, something that you feel is going to make the world a better place. And then what reinforces that is the team. So you find a group of people you love, that you want to go to battle with, that you want to build something with, and then it just becomes a self-perpetuating cycle. All that ends up leading to just an immense amount of passion, which you've probably seen in a lot of entrepreneurs, and that's what sustains me and keeps me going every day.
Yeah, that's awesome. I find that all the entrepreneurs and the people that work with entrepreneurs that I talk to are somewhere in that passion. They use different words to describe it, but the other side of passion is a level of risk, right? Yeah. And so you were a physician, and then you decided to become an entrepreneur. What were the risks and rewards that you had to weigh out to make that leap into the entrepreneurial lifestyle? And how did you go through that process?
It was a journey, and it was not an easy decision. So you're right, I trained as a physician. From the time I was a little kid, I always wanted to be a doctor. And so I found myself getting pulled into other parts of medicine. And I wanted to look at the big picture. I wanted to focus on some of the upstream issues. And so I started a company many, many years ago. And I couldn't give up medicine, so it was a side thing. So we started this little business. I was always doing it on the side. It was like, do it nights and weekends kind of thing. Yeah. And it was not that successful. And so it was a good lesson in that you've actually got to commit to something for it to be successful. Right. You actually got to go all in. And so the second time around, I was also really reticent about it. At that time, I was running a decent sized medical group. We had young kids for the first time. And it felt like a big, big change to go work for a startup, not make any money, take a big risk on all kinds of things. And a couple things that, for me, that were really important. One was I just felt myself I started this other company again on the side and started to dabble in it, and just felt myself, again, getting pulled in to working with the team, trying to solve this problem. And that was really attractive. And then two, we started to get a little bit of market validation. And the last time around, when I got that market validation, I still was like, hey, you know what? I'm just going to keep doing this on the side. Maybe it'll work itself out. This time I said, listen, I made that mistake once. You can't make it again. And I dove in. And I did it, with a lot of support from my family, my wife, but with some market validation, so it reduced the risk a lot. But it wasn't an easy decision, and at the time, it felt like this life-changing thing, which it ultimately was.
Yeah, it was, and it's been good for you. It looks good on you. But, I think that so often these podcasts and these books and these things that we all consume as part of the entrepreneurial community, they glorify the grind. And there's a lot of grind. There's a lot of crazy risk. And so I don't mean to diminish that. But like you said, you had young kids, you were married, you had a thriving practice that you had to decide to walk away from, and I think when you're really early in a startup, it is really all consuming. Mm-hmm. But because I know you, I also know you're a pretty balanced person. So one of the things I really would love to know and share with our listeners is, how do you maintain that balance? And not just in your work day, but in life, because as an entrepreneur, you're getting emails at midnight, you're getting emails at 6 a.m, and all of them sound like fire drills.
Yeah.
So how do you keep balanced?
Well, I can tell you for sure that I was not always balanced. And you're absolutely right. It's really hard to maintain that balance, because you're going to get pulled in and everything feels like life or death. And this is your baby and this is your team, and you got to go support them. So here, my general advice is you have to do some thinking, and you have to think about what's really important for you. What do you not want to give up? For me, there's probably 3 things. It's exercise is really, really important. 2, there are certain rituals around my family that are important. It's important for me to actually drop my kids off for school. It's important for me to be there at certain events for them. And 3rd, time for myself. So time to be able to spend with friends, with family, with my wife. Those are all, you've got to make sure you're able to protect those things, because the work will keep encroaching on that. And if you're not careful, you let that guard down, and all of a sudden you start to lose those other things that are actually really important to you.
Yeah, and were those naturally important to you, and did you have to use a methodology such as time blocking, or such as, making appointments for those things? I find, especially for me, the self-time gets diminished often, right? Yeah. That's probably the hardest one, because there's no accountability but yourself. If you don't show up to dinner with your kids, if you don't drop your kids off on time, there's accountability, right? But, what methodologies do you kind of do to keep yourself on track? And then that leads right into our next question. Do you get off track ever? And if so, how do you get yourself back on? What are your strategies to do that?
Yeah, so a couple of things that you can do or I do to stay on track. It's important to set a culture within the company that you're building, that these things are important. That's number one, because ultimately culture will eat any tactic that you set out. Yeah. So that's important. 2, I think time blocking is really important. So I would always set a certain set of hours. It might be, I'm making this up, 12 to 2. I'm going to go hit the gym, grab some lunch, and come back. So that time blocking is really important. And 3, you just have to be public about it and talk about it with your family, with your friends, with your company. So this shouldn't be something that you hide and are embarrassed about. Right. Like, hey, you shouldn't be embarrassed to go and see your kids at school. You shouldn't be embarrassed because you have to show up. You're starting your day at 8:30 as opposed to 8 because you got to go drop off your kids. Right. You have to talk about this, and it's important to bring your true self to work. And if you do that, then I think you can stay on track.
That is so key, and unfortunately, I did not learn that until recently. That and that's part of the reason of starting this podcast is it's not being an entrepreneur; it's being a human who happens to be an entrepreneur, but is also a dad, is also interested in staying healthy, is also involved in volunteerism and any other number of things, right? And so how to maintain that balance is really important to me. And I find that, it's a life lesson that has to, at least for me, has to be relearned every so often. And it's also a muscle, much like working out. The first time you work out, you're a lot more sore. I dread it, but once I'm in the routine, there's a lot more flow, and I feel like getting started is sometimes the hardest part, or getting restarted.
Yeah, and I'm the same way. And so you asked the question, how do you get pulled back in?
Yeah.
I think oftentimes it's other people who pull me back in.
Mm-hmm.
It's friends, it's my family, it's my wife. They'll be the ones say, hey, hold on, what's going on here? Let's reset, and let's figure out what the plan needs to be on a go-forward basis.
Yeah.
But it's because it is really easy to get sucked in.
Do you have set accountability folks that you lean on, outside of your wife, of course?
Yeah.
Are there others in your life that you lean on, or maybe they know you so well you don't have to lean on them, they can say, hey, Arun, pump the brakes?
Yeah, I've got a group of 3 to 5 entrepreneurs who I will touch base with on an almost monthly basis.
Mm-hmm.
And that's part of the conversation that we have. It's how are things personally? What are some of the challenges at work? How are you working through those things? And so it's a combination of business and professional advice that ends up becoming really grounding and helpful. And we know each other well enough now that they'll say, hey, hold on, like you don't seem well, or hey, I think you've over-rotated on this thing, or hey, you really should focus on this problem as opposed to this. And that's been really grounding.
Yeah. It's so easy when you move into the entrepreneurial lifestyle to go head down and also listen to all the media, around being an entrepreneur that's like grind through it. And me personally, I've found that that's a recipe for burnout, right? Yeah. And unhappiness, even if you started out loving your work and rooted in that mission. And then the other thing that I've talked to so many entrepreneurs about, and the last thing I wanted, are there ways that you seek to pay it forward or reinvest in the entrepreneurial community? And what are those things? And how do you find those things? What do you do?
Yeah, I think it's really important to pay it forward and be part of a community. So for me, I do it in a couple of ways. One, I invest in early stage companies, a lot of pre-revenue companies, super early in the days of the life cycle of the business. 2, I'm on a couple of boards, and so in my role as a board member, it's really about supporting the entrepreneur and helping them tackle whatever challenge it might be. It might be a growth challenge, it might be a strategic challenge, it might be an operational challenge. It's about being a partner to that entrepreneur to help them achieve their goals.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm gonna throw one last question in, and that's just, in the entrepreneurial community right now, it's an interesting time. You've got things exploding, whether it's AI or other things. Is there anything that you're just super excited about, looking into the future for technology and where entrepreneurialism is going?
Generative AI is pretty darn interesting. It feels like we're on the cusp of something transformative, so I'm glad you brought that up. I think there's one area which is concerning but also really exciting is around climate. So we're in Atlanta. It's 100 degrees
so
outside,
hot.
and it's unfortunately not an anomaly. And the good news is that there are a whole bunch of entrepreneurs that are working on solving that problem, and it's a good example of heart meeting mind and joining together to actually create a really powerful business case and some fantastic companies. So I'd say those are some of the things I'm paying attention to.
Yeah. I love entrepreneurism because that right there, heart meets mind, and brilliant ideas turn into products, turn into helping people, and ultimately create those win-wins and happy people and balanced life, hopefully. And so, that's really all I got. I wanted these to be short and sweet, and I really appreciate your time today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. If y'all want to check out more about Arun or reach out to him, his LinkedIn is going to be in the comments below, and I assume they can just reach out
Absolutely.
on LinkedIn if they want to say thanks for chatting or anything like that.
Cool. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Arun. And that's a wrap. Thank you again for listening. I hope you enjoyed today's conversation. I know I did. Special thanks to my friends at Market Scale for making this podcast happen. Thank you to my team for working tirelessly behind the scenes to help make this podcast happen. Thank you to my co-writers, Christian Hale and Brandon Ray, who helped me compose the theme song to Growthwell. Check out their music on Apple Music and Spotify or wherever you get digital music. And until next time, I hope you do growth well.